God will work with you, but not for you. By Lao Russell. Chapter 4 continued. Why am I here? By the year 1900, man had gained the whole world at the price of his soul. During all these centuries, while the silent voice had been awakening the divine spark in countless thousands of souls, the masses preferred to continue their barbarian practices. Today, the mass barbarian is syncopating the universal rhythms of the great masters into the jungle rhythms of their understanding. The high point of scientific advancement is now an integral part of the huge man-killing industry which man has set up in his man-built world, instead of the golden rule, love ye one another world, which is the basis of the Christian spirit. As love again goes out of the world, ugliness and brutality are coming into it in all human culture as in all human practice. As the culture-loving people of the Hellenic age saw its beautiful sculptures thrown into the seas, so do the culture-loving people of today see the ugliness of modern art gradually infiltrating even our art museums, and the jazz of our jungle rhythms displace our gracious minuet and our happy Viennese waltz. Even the musical instruments, which have the capacity of reaching the soul through their likeness to nature's sounds, are being discarded from all but the symphony orchestras and replaced with noisy brass instruments to please the ever-increasing decadence of the masses. The poetic quality of musical rendition is being replaced with raucous noise more reminiscent of the jungle than of gentility. The violin, flute, and piccolo are suggestive of whispering winds, the songs of birds, the reedy sounds of insects, and the humming, droning, buzzing, and chirping sounds of wood life. The soft, dreamy, restful dinner music of the 1900s era, which lent inspiration to social gatherings, has been replaced with ear-splitting brass horns in dining rooms, nightclubs, and television. The rhythmic harmonies of our fast disappearing cultural age are no longer heard. In their stead, as much discord as possible is introduced into syncopated melodies to destroy all that is fine and uplifting in this greatest of the spiritual arts. Cultural degradation is always paralleled by sex degradation, sex perversion, and a fast lowering of the moral code. Every falling civilization follows this same pattern of growing sex bestiality, which multiplies as culture lowers and the fine arts disappear from their thrones. The increase of sex perversion in Greece kept pace with its death of culture. This pattern is again repeating itself in our own rapidly falling civilization. All forms of sex perversion are rapidly increasing, even among the children of our present age. Sex perversion leads very rapidly to the jungle, and awakens even in children the desire to kill. Over and over again the world is shocked by youth killings for sheer pleasure. The world attributes these events to youth delinquency. Instead of that, they are the fruit of world decadence. Delinquency is not confined to youth alone. There is marked delinquency in every walk of life. The rapid increase in crime by adult delinquents more than matches the degradation of our youth. The matter which should greatly concern our present-day intellectuals is the fact that each succeeding generation of youths will be born into a lower moral status of civilization. Eventually all that is fine in the human race will not even be a memory for centuries, except among the few who keep the light burning between these dark periods in monasteries or secluded places. The spiritually exalted ones kept the light burning during the Dark Ages until the rebirth of civilization in the 14th century. Unless we immediately begin to transform the human race to a man-for-man basis to replace the present man-against-man basis, the human race is as certain to fall again as it has so many times fallen in the past for the same reason. If this does happen, there are more of the spiritually illumined among us to carry the light over the dark, intervening centuries than there were during the last fall of man. Even these would find life hard, difficult, and dangerous. They would have to live very secluded lives in remote mountain wildernesses, and very probably in high-walled castles of medieval architecture, to protect their groups from marauding bandits in the lawless centuries which would follow. Crime and youth delinquency have brought such moral degradation to the world that thinking people are now saying that only a great spiritual awakening can save the world. A spiritual awakening is impossible which does not conform with spiritual laws. Spiritual teachings which do not conform with God's law can be likened to the desires of a man who wished to be good, happy, and peaceful, but acquired money for that purpose by burglary, larceny, and cruelty. The foregoing is an excellent picture of our man-made world since its first spiritual resurrection in the 14th century. This could not have happened had man and woman grown equally in the building of our civilization. It is quite probable that the human race could have found the enduring peace for which it was searching within another 100 years, if it had not been forced to reap the harvest of enmity and hate, which empire builders had sown into the world pattern. This is a great pity, for the world is on the eve of a 100. The electronic age, which is now in the making, will make our present miracle world seem quite primitive. This promised unfolding will be impossible to build against the resistance of the present world retrogression toward ever-multiplying disunity. We have not been permitted that one extra 100 years of peace, which would have probably led to the equalization of man and woman in government affairs. We are now beginning to put this equalization into practice, however, for men no longer think it ridiculous for women to occupy high seats in industry and government. Had man and woman worked equally together in these past 100 years, the return to man-killing would undoubtedly not have happened, and we would not now be facing the terrible harvest of past man-killings. We have prayed for happiness, peace, and prosperity for ourselves, while plundering our neighbour to take his peace, happiness, and prosperity away from him. Unknowingly, we have actually done to ourselves what we have done to our neighbour. We built the image of ourselves into our empires, and they tumbled like a house of cards. In killing 1 million sons of neighbours, we killed 10 million of our own sons. For each $1 billion plundered to enrich us, we are impoverished by $10 billion of debts. We did not know what we were doing. We were immoral pagans working according to the pattern of our barbarian nature, as truly and as normally as primate man acted in the pattern of his true primate nature. Ignorance of the law does not excuse us, however. It never does. We shall continue to live in a barbarian world of our own making, as long as we practice barbarian ways. We have not yet known man nor God sufficiently to comprehend our close relation, which necessitates coordination and cooperation in whatever God and man do together. Man's failure to work with God, and the penalty which he brings down upon himself for such disobedience, is plainly set down in the following quotation from the message of the divine Iliad. Serve first thy brother, hurt first thyself rather than thy neighbour. Gain naught from him unbalanced by thy giving. Protect thou the weak with thy strength, for if thou use thy strength against him, his weakness will prevail against thee, and thy strength will avail thee naught. Man has violated this law all through his barbarian days, and is still violating it while hoping to evade its consequences. Every weak nation he has conquered is today the conqueror. The very theory of conquest by war is for the purpose of enrichment, while the effect of every war ever fought by man is impoverishment. How many more times must man suffer the agonies of war before he finally knows the law by paying the price of learning his lessons through more suffering? Summary. This barbarian age might be briefly summed up as a sense-dominated, man-controlled age, in which greed for material gain motivated man to take as much as he could get by giving as little as he could give. During its history, the spiritual qualities of man began to unfold because of the birth among them of divinely inspired messengers who came into the world to help man's unfolding. Their teachings were beyond man's comprehension, but the awakening of desire for spiritual unfoldment grew strong in him. These teachings might have brought the human race to a realization of its oneness with God and the brotherhood of man, save for the much stronger innate memories of its primate man-killing days. During its entire period, this age has been marked with a belief in evil because of a practice of what it believed to be evil. Its most hopeful sign of progress was the rise of woman from utter insignificance to a sufficiently high place within the last 50 years to allow her to vote in man's affairs of government, which still remained man-controlled, however. That is the first step toward the necessary man-woman equalization, but it is only a very little step. Because of these immaturities in the slowly unfolding human race, its civilizations fell many times, as our civilization is now once again inevitably falling. Let us pray that the men and women of the world will unite in time to reverse this decadence to a more glorious renaissance that our world has ever known.